So, my personal journey to veganism as an ideology spans my entire lifetime. Though it's only recently that I've started to get myself involved with it head on and really understand how humans view animals, how we treat them, and what the impact of that could be. I began a pretty intense political journey before quarantine hit, and after it began, that entire process kind of sped up really quickly. I learned a lot about our current society living through the uprising against police brutality, and I wanted to share some thoughts I've had about animals as a part of that journey. Anti-speciesism fits seamlessly into other leftist ideologies. Most people agree that hurting animals is wrong, and most people know that animals need to be hurt in some way to produce some of the products they use in their lives. But I think the problem really lies in the fact that many don't take the venture in thinking beyond that. So, let me put it this way. When you're born, the circumstances that you're born into are up to chance. You inherit the diet, the language, the culture, religion, political ideology, and so on from the people you're directly involved with. You inherit other things from the local history of the place that you are born. You know, for a lot of people watching this video, this means that you grew up consuming animal products. The way people inherit their diet and many other practices of their society is completely out of their control. And as a result, many people really struggle to confront the ways they benefit from the exploitation of others simply because they didn't intend to. They're afraid of having to take responsibility for their ignorance or negligence. They didn't know, they never got the chance to know, and it was out of their control to begin with. So why should they feel anything but helpless to change the way they do things now? You can kind of see this self-sabotage in people who get inspired to go vegan but then go cold turkey really, really unsustainably, and they get discouraged and they give up. But when we're navigating something so serious, especially when many people will go to great lengths to not confront the reality of the issue of animal rights, I think it's important to remember what makes us care about these kinds of abuses in the first place. Humans, us, we social creatures, have it in our nature to understand pain and to try to help. We actually have something in our brains called mirror neurons, which function to help us feel and understand what other beings are going through. So empathy is at least enabled by our biology. It's also certainly worth mentioning that big companies who profit from the systemic abuse of animals, like corrupt powers do, use all kinds of tricks to manipulate people into becoming profit. They hire scientists to fudge numbers, they put happy animals on their packaging, they tell you it's healthy for you. They lie, and they lie to make money, and you need to be careful not to believe them. For example, cardiovascular disease is a direct result of eating red meat. Heart disease is always at its worst in areas where people are eating lots of meat. This is true in China, in Australia, in the US, and anywhere else that has meat, In knowing it's dangerous, though, companies will still run ads that repeatedly tie meat and masculinity together as if those two things have anything to do with each other in order to profit off of, boys' night out or whatever. And that's only one way you're shown how to think about animals. Companies will lie and distance the buyer as much as they can from the act of exploiting a helpless animal from the product, but that's what meat is. And the exploitation that's involved in animal products we consume are always going to be a factor when we're purchasing it. This isn't an easy thing to come to terms with. I can acknowledge that. I'm hit with emotions sometimes really hard, processing the ways I benefit from the suffering of animals. But those emotions are genuine, they're appropriate considering the circumstances, and I would be denying myself if I kept living in a way that prevented me from feeling them. Veganism, and more specifically anti-speciesism, is about the practice of expanding your circle of moral consideration to living beings that aren't humans. I have a problem with exploitation. With violations of autonomy, with violent oppression, and unnecessary suffering. I have a problem when it happens to humans, and I have a problem when it happens to animals. I know it's disincentivized to make ethical decisions while living under capitalism, but any and every effort made to make the world a better place is never effort wasted. We need to make the world we want to live in. And this is one of the ways that you can begin to do that.